Okay, doing this low tech, using my phone to take this video. May do a little cleaner one later, but just saw this and thought it was interesting and wanted to kind of capture it quickly. So you probably remember this play from the Thursday night game. It's in the first quarter, I think. Let it run through. And you're going to see the completion up top. All right, okay, now what's interesting about this, when I go back, we're going to look at a couple different parts of this and even slow it down, is the communication. Let's start, went back a little too far, at the bottom of the screen. To this side down here, these guys, where I think these guys are communicating before the snap what they're going to play. Look at Hamilton. Let me see if he already did it. I think he did, but if I missed it, we'll go back. Okay, yeah, let's go back. Now watch Hamilton quickly. Try to zoom in on it. See him tapping his thighs there? I think Washington even does it too. See, quick, that quick little tap. We'll see it better from another angle, but just check it out. There's Hamilton. He's gonna look back to Ardarius. Ardarius is confirmed, yep, got it. All right, now, let's look at what these guys are doing on the other side. And for that, they're also communicating. We got to go to a couple different angles. All right, so first there's this angle. Hold on. Let's go back. You can see Ardarius come over to Marcus Williams, right? Communicating something. And then you see Marcus kind of with a fist down signal, and he's also telling it to Trenton Simpson. But you see it even better from this angle. Let me move back out. Oops. Hold on. That's what happens when you go low tech sometimes. Try to get it back full screen for a minute. Okay, and then I'm gonna slow it down because you're gonna see these guys come in at the top of the screen and start communicating. Marcus Williams, top left of the screen. Oh, might have went too far. Hold on. We gotta catch it. Yeah, we gotta catch it right out of here. Right when you switch to the other angle, then you'll see it. Okay, here we go. Top of the screen. First, you're gonna see front guys communicating. And then here comes Williams, top left, right? Walking in. He's asking, right? What are we doing? First he taps his thighs. Is it quads? Or he has two fists there, right? Ardarius gives some signal. I'm not sure what that is. But then Marcus comes back over to be Steve and gives that kind of fist down signal. Simpson looks back. He tells Simpson. And then Simpson turns back around. And then we know what happens, right, from there. So, now, let's talk through some of this stuff. Let's start with the tapping of the thighs. So we're going to go to this. So, that could be their signal for something that's called quads, right, which is one of their cover 4 tools. And I don't have, probably could find it if I looked around a little bit more, but just did a quick little search here. You can see maybe that top left-hand box. It's not exactly the route combo because number 1 doesn't go all the way vertical. But it gives you an idea just in terms of kind of where some of the receivers end up at, right? You had the running back who gets to the flat late, which Hamilton relates to. You get the vertical for number 2 inside, which Rowe kind of relates to, and then the corner stays outside, right? Let's go back to the film and we'll look at that, right, from the wide, right? So we're talking about bottom of the screen where we count number 1, number 2, number 3. That's the running back, right? Hampton kind of squeezes number 2 inside. He's going vertical, passes him off. Sees number 3, running back, coming out wide to the flat, right? Hamilton, the quarter flat player. And we just looked at that diagram. I'll go back to it. And then Rowe a little bit of carry on the vertical from number 2, but then he also passes him off to the safety. And then Marlon as the corner outside, just kind of on number 1 out there, right? So let's go back to that diagram. We can kind of see number 3 in this diagram would be Rowe. Number 2 would be Hamilton. Number 1 would be Marlon. And the money sign is the safety. Again, different routes, but they kind of end up in similar places. The running back ends up in the flat, so he kind of represents number 2 in this diagram. The Y goes vertical, so he kind of represents number 2 in the play, number 2 in the video, going vertical. And then, you know, Z here goes vertical. In the play, he really doesn't. He kind of like hitches up, but it's still basically, you know, ISO out there between him and the corner. So that all looks good, right? So what about this double fist thing? Okay, so now let's take a look at this. Now again, I'm just using some different playbook resources, stuff that's out there that is either Ravens related or coaches who coached with the Ravens who went on to other places and put together some stuff. So this is from a DB manual that Greg Madison put together when he was at Michigan, maybe back in 2014, maybe. And so one of their hand signals with those 2 fists was to tell the corner to play a squat technique, right? It's kind of what you see Brandon Stephens doing, particularly when you look at, if you look at the top of this where it starts to describe the responsibilities versus pass, jam number 1 inside and find number 2, right? Shuffle square. Number 1 takes an inside release. Always know pre-snap where number 2 is aligned. If he's fairly tight to your alignment and possibly outflank you, never chase an inside receiver by an inside release by number 1 further than 3 yards. After number 1 takes an inside release, turn it to the receiver to gain width and depth, pivot and pop. And it talks about, you know, the route underneath the corner route is the first one to take away. If number 1 is not a threat behind you, begin to settle and play the flat route, right? And you can see again, look at that first box, first diagram. Not the same routes over there, but you can see something that comes into the flat area from the tight end and how the corner kind of initially releases inside with number 1, the outside receiver, right? He jams him, but then he kind of pivots and pops to get his eyes on that flat route, right? If we go back to the film and look at B. Steve up top, it's kind of what we see, right? You're going to see him move up, maybe play this squat technique from kind of a bump, press alignment, I'm sorry, not bump, press, right? Jams him inside, gets his eyes back to number 2. Number 2 doesn't quite go flat, kind of just hitches up. But you see, he does start to work out a little bit. Simpson goes flying to the flat. I think that could be where the issue is on this. Maybe he's supposed to stay in the hook there and kind of, you know, stay in that curl window where he'd be underneath number 1, kind of running that slant. Safety then has to play it top down because he's playing from depth and drive on it. So this isn't necessarily about who was doing what in terms of trying to identify who was wrong or who made a mistake, because, you know, I don't know, to be honest with you. I'm not there. But I just thought it was kind of interesting to look at some of the communication stuff that they were doing, you know, hand signals, because I think we've heard a lot about communication and communication issues, and I thought this was kind of a really, you know, vivid example of what that might look like.